Hello everyone, how are you? Yeah, in great form, thanks. Thank you for asking, Cassie. She, okay, so what was wrong with her is she has ulcers in her mouth, and it took about 3 or 4 days for them to come up, so we didn't actually know. And then found out when we found out, then we had to go to the hospital there and get some medication for her. But yeah, that's what was wrong, and obviously that's why she was screaming on the Wednesday, and then that's why I had to cancel the Sunday one because I was in the hospital, and obviously we're after moving to Norfolk, so then we had to drive to Norwich because that was the closest baby hospital. So it was just a little bit of a hullabaloo, if that makes sense. But we have medicine now. She's like a different baby. All of a sudden, anytime she gets whingy, we give her the pain relief, and then she's grand again. So, but yeah, another couple of days, she should be 100% again. But it was just tough. But thank you for asking. Well, how are you? How is everyone? Hi, how are you, Salima? How are you? How is your baby? How are you getting on? David, what's the crack?
Hey Henry, sorry, I'm good, thank you, and I'm glad your baby's doing better. Bless her. It's so annoying when they get ill. Um, but yeah, I'm glad she's doing better. Thank you.
Oh, thanks, thank you. No, Cassie, I didn't ask you with your baby. Unless you have an AI pet robot. Sarima, thanks very much. Nice to hear your voice. Look, one more minute and then I'll start, and we'll get things kicked off. What's going on? I'll just join in on this. Right. So just start off. Rather than going through the markets first and foremost, let's have a look at what we've been doing throughout the year. Okay, so this is the baby's one. Taisia, as you guys all know, she only started her first investment, I think it was in June, I think it was. So she has 1,100 there in the account already, and she is up 86 pounds already on her investment. So She's up. Well, what percentage is that? It's a 7.77 she's up. So that's what she's up at the moment. And today's movement hasn't been added on to that. That gets added up once a day. So it's a little bit higher once today's one is added. And that's what she's done in 6 months, 7.7, so 8%. Okay, and that's just by putting a little bit of money in each month, just 100 quid in each month, and just yeah, she's 10 months old at the moment, so I'm a little bit, tiny bit ahead of the curve. 11 months payments gone in there, but yeah, that's it. Just leave it alone, let it run, let it go, let it thing. And this here is the HSBC American Index. So if we click on it here, it should tell us what's in there. Cash income, pending accounts. And that's that. Where do I find what's in it? Because it is the S&P 500 basically. So that's what I was trying to show you. It shows you how often I jump in on this. Full fact sheet, is that correct? Yeah. It should tell us down here. Yeah. Okay, cool. So there's the full fact sheet. Annually, there's the returns it's done since 2021, 31, -8, 14, 32, and 8.67% so far this year. So JISA in 6 months has actually got the full year gains. The full year gains on this one this year. There's the actual cost of it, 0.06%. So we got a really low fees. And then if you have a look at it, there's Nvidia, Microsoft, Apple, Amazon, Meta, Broadcom, Alphabet, Tesla, Alphabet, Berkshire Hathaway. So that's basically what it has. And the minimum direct debit is 25 quid going into it. But the minimum investment in there is 100 quid. You can't invest any less than 100 quid. But yes, it's slow and steady wins the race. It's just something there for her when she retires. Talking about retirement, here's my retirement one. This one is what, 18 months old. The only difference is that I have taken some individual stocks and there's a little bit more money in here, but there's my one is 39% since I started. So I've made £1,200 on it there just by leaving it there. And have I done anything that I haven't spoke to you guys about? No, not really. Look, here's the investment. Look, 3,500 of that is into my retirement pot. My retirement pot has given me 500 of that. Okay, so then the individual stocks here. And if you look at Alphabet, they've given me, I've 600 quid invested in, they've given me what, 300 or 260 or 70 of that. So they've given me the most of it. Meta has given me 11%. Look, this is that's already in here, so that's all the retirement funds. So I'm just going to skip those two. Illy Lilly 16%, Garmin 44 or 23% up, 24% up. Again, these are all very, very similar to the stuff that we have in the investment portfolio. So they're the ones there that we have in the investment portfolio. It's just a matter of keeping an eye on them. And then sort of going from there. General Electric up 62%, ASML up 50%, Microsoft flat, Norsdaq Novak down 66%. This is the free share I got from one of you guys signing up, following my link, and also this is a free share I got from one of you guys following my link, and you guys would have got a free share as well. So if you see a £10 investment there somewhere, that's actually the free share you got. But that's sort of it in a nutshell there, guys. It's fairly straightforward. It's not, trading can be as simple or as easy as you want. It's it's not rocket science. We can make this simple. It's doing the simple things over and over again. And obviously this is the original one. The portfolio is being dropped down now because I took most of it out to buy a house. But this here, that's the retirement fund I had there since day one. Here with this one, look up 72% and up 53%. And I am pretty sure that is 4 years of investing. Let me have a quick look. What was the first one we took? 2023, 23, 23, 23, 24, 24. Actually, no, that is 2 years of investing. Let me go over to the S&P. 23, 23, 23, 23, 24, 24. Okay, so no, 2 years of investing. Well, actually, we're 3 months away from 2 years. And it's not like I put huge amounts in there. Okay, so 400 quid invested, 200 quid return. 400 quid invested, 300 quid return. It's not, this is not hard. It's just set these up, get them set up for yourself. Um, I'll have actually having a quick look at AJ Bell there as well. This is the pension. This is for anyone who's new to this. This is the SIP. So this is the SIP. So this is one of my pensions from one of my old workplaces. So jumped in on that there. So 7,700 went in, and I'm up 159 pounds so far. And then this is the All World fund that I put in, and this is 3,800 invested, and I'm 390 89% up. So 10 11% up and 2% up on this so far. So it's things be invested in the market. This is an all world, and then this one is more US tech. So how many of you guys there in the comments have one of the above? Uh, stocks and shares ISA, a SIP. Now, what a SIP is a personal pension. Has any of you guys got the? Assuming everyone should have them, and I'm not talking about workplace pensions. I'm talking about these ones, personal pension and stocks and shares ISA. Okay, Cassie, you're exempt. Okay, you're exempt, but I know you're invested in the market. But that's something everyone should have. Everyone has a spare 25 quid, 50 quid, and with the likes of trading 2 on 2, you can put in little as 25 quid. You can put in as much as you want into the likes of that. You don't have to get stuck on it. You don't have to be sort of uh everything invested in the market. Slow and steady wins the race. Okay, just to work it out here, just to put this all into perspective, the compound calculator UK, and just to sort of put this into perspective. Okay, so what's there? There's 11,500 there. There is two and a half, so that's 11, 12, 12, 12, 13K. 13. There's seven there. That's 20. And I'm going to put Thaisis in there as well. 20. That is, and there's 1,000 here. Where is it? I'll press the back button. It should go. So 21,000 as far as I know. Yeah, 1,100. So we'll round it down to 21,000. and we're going to do 9%. Now, just say for me, well, actually, we'll take Dicey's off that because that's just for me. So 20,000, and I am what age am I now? 44. So that's 23 years left. And I put 150 into AJ Bell, and I put 180 into that. So that is 330. We'll just change this to dollars or the pounds rather than dollars. Makes no difference. And then calculate. So that's a nice, healthy retirement fund there, isn't it? And that's not talking that that's £460,000. That's not including any workplace pensions that I have. That's that there. Okay. I've 20 grand invested, and additionally over the next 23 years I'll put 91,000 in it. So so that's 111,000 I would have put in. And overall the return will be that. So that's what, another 350,000 on top of it. And that's just doing a 9% return. So next year, if we do the same 9% on all the investments, that'll be 6 grand returned. Like six and a half, 7, 1, 7, 8, 8.5, 10 or 9. And then look, after 7 years, that's 10K. That's 10K a month returned, or 10K a year. That's almost a grand a month. And when we get to 9 years, look, that's 12 grand. That's a grand a month. But the big numbers don't sort of come in until we get a little bit further down the line. Okay. And I understand that this is for some people, this is just too far away, it's too slow, it's too everything. I understand that. Oh, my thing with all this is that how many times have you looked at this and gone, oh yeah, look, I'll start this in a little bit, I'll start this here, I'll start this there. Look, I've started Taisi's account literally when she was 6 months old. I couldn't start it any earlier. Um, and in the last 4 months, I've put 1,100 quid into the account for her, and she's up 80 odd pounds at the moment on it. Yep, Kashi, I agree with it. Oh, sorry, it's tax free as well. So yes, that is an absolute win-win situation for everything there as well. And my screen has frozen for some reason. Oh, now I think we're back. Okay, cool. So let's get started here on stocks, shares, trading, all that sort of stuff. Okay, cool. So anyone who took any trades on this, if you took any of them along here, look, you're in profit basically. If we look at the last 4 or 5 days, it's gone sideways. We've had a little pop to the upside on the close of business today. Okay, because if we drop down to the say the 1 hour, we can see that this has only popped up an hour ago. Okay, this was pretty damn flat all day, and it was actually down for most of the day, down till what 4 o'clock. We were actually down here, massively bearish, and then it's had a little pop to the up to the upside at the moment. So yeah, that's sort of there at the moment on the Nasdaq, but you probably expect that to go up and hit here. I don't expect it not to. Does that make sense? I did see Tyson's little post. He's bearish on this till until it breaks out here. But how can you be bearish on this? If that makes sense. Um, trade with the trend. Here's, look, this is the trend. Make sure you're with the trend. Okay. Now, could we have got in here? Absolutely not on any time frame. No, because it was moving sideways. Look, if you had entered here at a stop loss here, you would have got triggered out here because of this move. So it moved sideways for so long, and then look, you popped up to the upside. So if you had have stayed in that trade and actually got that pop, you would have been very lucky. And sometimes it's better to be lucky than good. So there's no trades there as of yet. Just leave it alone. Leave it alone. If I was looking to trade this, so just say you had that massive itch and you had to trade. Okay. What I would be doing is I'd be looking for the break and retest of that level. Okay. Because remember, this has been moving sideways along here. We've had this bullish bar. Are we going to break this high? So for me to trade this at the moment, so just say I wanted to go to the smaller time frame and I wanted to trade that, I would need this to happen. It would have to break and retest. And then once it gets back here, then I'm in the market. That's where I'm looking to trade from because I can see that that's a buying zone. Once it breaks and retests, comes back to it, that's the buying zone that I want to get into. And I'm aiming for that target there. And I would be a little bit inside that. There's no point in me trying to take every penny out of the market. I would probably have my target there. So see the open and the close over here of the 26,200. That's probably where I would have my stop loss. And then sort of have a little take profit there on that. So obviously not ideal, but at this present moment, you would just sit through that at the moment and just hold fire. The S&P 500 on the daily chart, uh, very similar to the Nasdaq if we look at this, it but it moved sideways for much longer than the Nasdaq. And again, we had this little pop today. The only difference is we're much closer to our record or to our all-time high than we are in the Nasdaq. If you have a look here, we are a little bit away from it. Whereas if you look at the S&P, we're not. We're very, very close to it. So it's telling me that sort of the banking sector, I'd imagine, are doing okay at the moment. And that's why we're sort of a little bit closer there on that. Onto the smaller time frames. If you'd have taken this trade, you probably would have got away with it because I can't imagine us not putting our stop loss down a little bit. So depending on the broker, whether you would have been still in that trade or not. But look, if you'd have taken off this triple bottom here, a great trade, absolutely beautiful. But the problem is if you look across here, it's super sideways. It definitely wouldn't be something that I was looking at, but some people would have, but it's definitely not something that I would be looking at. The Dow again, look, the Dow actually looks like the most tradable of the three of them. If we drop down onto the 4 hour, the only difference is I don't think we've any support and resistance there. That's the only problem. I don't think we have any structure there, and does not. We'd have to go across to here and use this structure, but again, it's not massively jumping out of this to take it. Um, so I can't imagine many people taking the Dow here. But if you did, look, that is a great little trade. Nice and profitable, but there was no real setups there. Look, we wanted this to break and retest here. So let's see, did it? And it didn't. Look, it broke sideways, took off again, come back, and now this looks like the next movement to the upside. And you'd be putting that there. So technically, there is a trade right there now still. Long. You'll be getting in live here. Stop loss would be below there, and we would have a 1-to-1 before it hits that ceiling. That is an absolute key area that we have to have the in, or at least some sort of a partial take profit before that level. Look, so we definitely have sort of that there. Okay. Any trades in that? Yes, on that time frame. But again, look at this. We are overextended on this. And you could say that that's the pullback, and then it's the beginning of the next move, which it absolutely could be. It absolutely could be. But it's definitely not something. It's not the pinnacle of the trades, but there is definitely a trade there, and you would expect it to hit here without before we get any sort of pullbacks, because everyone is looking at the target here. So that's where I'd imagine that hits before we get some sort of a pullback. Surprising, the French CAC has had a pullback, whereas the Nasdaq has, or not the Nasdaq, the German DAX has had a little move to the upside. I'm assuming this is more political than anything else. But if it comes back to here, there is a potential trade there. Yes. Again, look, we never got triggered into our UK 100 trade. So technically, there's another trade here now, isn't there? That there, stop loss will have to go below that floor. Stop loss would have to go back below that floor, and there would be the sort of take profit, and that would be a 1.5%. Now, what's the negative of this trade? The negative of this trade is that look, it hasn't made a higher high, but you could put that down to the rest of the markets. None of those have made higher highs. Look, all the rest of them are much lower than their previous highs. So you could put that down to that. And the pros of this is we have come back into that trend line again, even though we had this sort of fake out there. It's come back and hit this level, and look at the bullish day we've had already off that level. So potentially some buyers coming back into that market. So that is a trade there. Again, it's a bit like the German DAX. Is it the pinnacle of the trades? No. Is it a better trade than the German DAX? Probably. Technically, it's a better setup. There's a better level underneath. Absolutely a much better level. We are trading with the trend, so we actually have an overall trend, whereas the German DAX, the trend is sideways. All we're doing is jumping in this momentum. The negatives of the UK 100 is that we've had a little bit of sideways movement here. Okay, we've had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 days of moving sideways before we had a movement to the downside. Um, that's negative of it. But this one is probably a better trade than, say, the German DAX. If we're looking at this and putting percentages on it, we would sort of say that the German DAX is, what would I call it? Say 50% correct, where I would say the UK 100 is probably about 60% correct, if that makes sense, or meets the rules. Aussie 200, and funny the way this has sort of worked out. You would have got triggered in on your short here, but it looks like it is going to take off to the upside. That's what looks like is going to happen. Is looks like it's going to take off to the upside. And if this takes off the upside, you will be stopped out of your short. Um, is there a trade there? There's more of a value trade here than a CFD trade, if that makes sense. And this looks like it's going to take off the upside because the sellers are trying to push it down, but it just doesn't look like they have the momentum. So for me, yes, it looks like it's going to pop to the upside. But would I be looking at this as a CFD? Probably not. This is more speculative than meeting the correct trade, if that makes sense. China, we wanted a pullback here. We wanted a break and retest, and we definitely sort of got that. It's just a question of whether you wanted to come down further or whether you're happy to take that trade there. And again, I understand that this is not a perfect market structure, or this is not a perfect time to be actually trading, if that makes sense. But you know what I mean? Sometimes we make good money in bad markets, and it's about sometimes taking calculated risks, making sure that you're not risking too much, and then if you're happy with the trade, then take it, yeah. But this here again is a decent enough trade. It reminds me of the German DAX rather than the UK 100. And the Nikkei is slowly heading up. I wonder, is that worth moving your stop loss inside break even at this particular moment now? 0.6% up. So I probably would, if I'm being honest, I probably would. But again, if you do that, there is a big chance you'll get triggered in or you'll get triggered out at break even, if that makes sense, or in a slight bit of profit. So one or the other. US oil, we were potentially looking at a trade here short of this. It continued to go up and then dropped. So it just didn't drop where we wanted it to. So we get rid of this here. I'm going to leave this one here because it's still valid, and it might be an indication of it dropping here and then bouncing back up. But again, look at it. There's loads better markets to be trading than US oil at the moment. One of them is Exhibit A, natural gas. So let's have a quick look at that level. So we've a couple of touches here, 1, 2, 3, and there's another one here. And again, it's not the pinnacle of levels to be sort of looking at. So there is a trade here at the moment on natural gas. Entry will be there. And look, I would put my stop loss there. I'm not gonna lie, I'll put my stop loss there. I might start aggressively moving my stop loss up, but that's where I am there. I put a stop loss. I put a stop loss there. So yeah, entry there, stop loss below it, and then look, take profit. The thing with this is this could take off. See this one here? That could take off and run on to a 5, 6, 7 to 1. Or this could trigger you in and then drop in a matter of days 10%. That's the thing with the likes of this. It could change in a heartbeat. But once the trend generally takes off, it generally takes off for a while. So there is a trade there, yes. And this one is probably the best trade we've seen so far. It meets all the rules. The only difference is whether we wait for it to hit this floor or whether we put that order in there. Now, if we put that order in there and it doesn't trigger us in and it comes down, remember the order comes down, the entry comes down a little bit. Stop loss stays where it is, but the entry would just come down slightly. I'm going to very quickly look through these because there's not a huge amount of trades setting up on these guys, but there is one on Apple here. Okay, there is a long here on Apple entry there, stop loss there. Let me see if this trend line also works here. That there is a trade. I'd be putting a 3-1 on the likes of this. But I suppose is that a question there, or is that a trade for you guys? Yes or no? Answers on a postcard, please. Let me pop that in the stocks chat. I agree with you, Caddy. Yes, it is a trade, and it is the best one we've seen today. Microsoft. So that trade is valid. I wonder when we put that there. But anyway, yeah, the same trade is valid there again. So entry there and stop loss below it. So it's absolutely valid again. Meta, stay away from it. Amazon, 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 Amazon. Oh, is there a trade there? Look, I wouldn't, but it had really good earnings. So when this takes off, generally they take off because they've had really good earnings. So if you have a look at this here, so bounce here, rejection here. It's not the best trade in the world, but look, if the stock market starts to go up, these are all going to be winners, every one of them. There's none of them going to be losers. So basically, you're taking the same trade a couple of times, if that makes sense. Google, Google's the only one that hasn't taken off here yet, but it's the only one that has massively been trending, if that makes sense. So by law of what's I would say gravity there, but if the market all starts going up, this will take off as well. And because of the market structure and the trend, this one will probably move more than the other ones. It'll probably move more than the other ones. Netflix, yeah, Netflix is dropping off a cliff at the moment. Um, there is a trade there long, but under no circumstances would I take that there. Entry at the $97. Um, there's under no circumstance would I take this. Did they buy Warner Brothers? I know they had a bid in, and there was Paramount also were looking to buy them. Or wasn't that? So that was, I know that was a hostile takeover from Paramount, I think, and Netflix were, but I didn't actually hear whether it actually went through or who was the tender that was accepted. But if you look at this from the high, we've had a pretty decent drop from the high. We've had a 31% drop there. 72 billion deal, yeah. Don't think it's worth 72 billion, but yeah. Tesla, um, I think Tesla are on a run here because of SpaceX. Um, in my opinion, I'm not sure what anyone saw that SpaceX is looking at a 1.5 billion pounds IPO. If it goes through, it'll double. It'll be more than double Elon Musk's net value. But let's see whether it goes through or not. But yeah, and it's supposed to be. I think it's for early 2026. Is that what I said? I think I can't remember, but I think that's what that run is there. It's definitely not to do with car sales, because the car sales are horrendous. But it's almost at a record high again. Anyone who jumped in on it, yeah, it's almost at a record high. Well done. Nvidia, this trade is still there. Again, it's not a perfect trade. It's still entry there, stop loss below. It's still one that's um what would I call it? Should go up, but again, it's not as good as Apple. Apple is a far better trade. Look, Oracle. I did say that Oracle is probably a better trade than Nvidia, and that's what's going on there. It is, and it looks like it's moving much better. AMD, there was no trade there because there was no levels. ASML running quite nicely. TSM, again, that has ran massively since a little pullback there. Illy Lilly, we've had a little pullback on Illy Lilly. Look back to that level there. Technically, this is a perfect entry. Technically, this is an absolute perfect entry. The only problem I have with this is the run it's had. This had a run of look almost 80% on the back of earnings, on the back of two earnings. Okay. But if you look at prior to those earnings, it actually had a drop of 35%. So the question was it undervalued or is it now way overvalued? And that's the problem we have at the minute. Now it's at the moment it's way overvalued. But technically, as a technical setup, this is absolutely perfect for the new wave of buyers to come in. So absolutely perfect for it. But the question is that will they come in there or not? Berkshire Hathaway, no, stay away from it. Crocs, stay away from it. Garmin, um, had a little pop to the upside. No idea why. Shouldn't have done that because the earnings was horrendous. Palantir. Did anyone take Palantir? You're 0.5% up already if you did. If you're taking you're 0.5% up already. I'm going to jump down to the banks here now. That explains why the Dow has done so well. Look, Morgan Stanley. Look, you've hit it 3-1 already. Well done. Um, Goldman Sachs. You're on 2-1. And by the looks of it, it's going to go on and hit it 3-1 as well. JP Morgan. Oh wow, JP Morgan on Tuesday had a nosedive, and then today had a recovery day. So this is the only one that hasn't moved out of those. Wells Fargo is running quite nicely as well. HSBC, look again, running really nicely, almost at BNP and UBS all running quite well. It's funny, they're all running quite well, but there's no trades on any of these. Let's have a look at this bad boy. Look, again, see how this is running. Keep an eye on this. If we get it pulled back to here, we pull the trigger on this again. Let me have a quick look at Bitcoin. So when you took the short, it went down to 1.3. So technically, you should be at a 0.3 of a win. And look, it's moved sideways sort of since. And this looks like it's trying to pop to the upside. But the question is that just, and then drops again down to this area, the 74K. So let's see, I do have an order at 76. So let's see whether it comes down that far or not. Only time will tell. Solana again, looks like it would have been triggered in and triggered out of this one. I don't think this hit the full 1%. Look, 0.85 or 84, so it didn't hit a full 1%. Ethereum again didn't hit the full 1%. What's that? 0.73. So I got rid of that. XRP just moved sideways, and Doge just moved sideways as well. Hasn't really gone anywhere. So not much happening here on that. Let me very quickly run over to gold and silver and have a look at those two before we finish up. Silver, look, anyone that took this, well done. I understand you had to have big cojones to hold on to this. That's what, 3.5% now at the moment. And then you have gold. I'm surprised gold hasn't moved. But the other side of it is that this could be the beginning of silver's revival because the disparity between silver and gold has gone too big, and they need to close that gap. I think it's about four x is the average, but I think it's at 6 or 7x now at the minute. So you'd expect that gap to close. And lastly, we'll have a look at the dollar index, and it looks like the dollar index is getting weaker. So, anything against US dollar seems to be running quite nicely. So GBP USD is running quite nicely there. USD CAD, there was nothing there. Okay, so there was none of those there setting up. All right, everyone. Well, looks like that's a wrap for me. Thank you very much. Hope you all have a lovely evening, and I will speak to you all next week. Okay. Thanks, everyone. Bye bye.